Welcome to this special edition of 11Alive News Investigates. I'm consumer investigative reporter Liza Lucas. For the next half hour, we're bringing you exclusive investigations you'll only see on 11Alive. From an in-depth look at the partnerships between Georgia law enforcement and U.S. Immigration's Custom Enforcement to a behind-the-scenes look at how federal agents are trying to stop criminals from stealing crucial benefits from families. These are the stories impacting your community, your family, and potentially your future. Let's get started. First up, the lawsuit seeking to change how Amazon hires long-distance drivers. Senior investigative reporter Rebecca Lindstrom and the team spent weeks pouring through the records. And while the company has implemented stricter standards for drivers carrying cargo, critics say more changes are still needed to protect others on our roads. Take a look.
One crash, 3 people killed, and at least 7 rushed to the hospital.
It has catastrophic impacts.
But this crash near the Georgia-Tennessee line isn't even counted in the 22 Amazon cargo crashes we found in court records involving interstate licensed drivers since 2023.
This isn't about the person delivering that package to your door. This is about the middle mile, that stretch between warehouses.
What we've learned once we've started digging is...
Attorney Adewale Odetunde says Amazon created a special app to hire drivers directly, tapping into small companies that are often just one guy with a rig.
This is a warning citation. Instruct you to maintain lane, okay?
The danger and the concern is that Amazon isn't truly vetting these drivers.
Back up!
Amazon would strongly dispute that claim, but comparing our analysis of lawsuits to this University of Tennessee professor's review of U.S. DOT safety records, the trend remains the same.
Amazon, if you compare to their peers, is generally hiring less safe carriers.
Alex Scott analyzed 11,000 carriers that reported hauling at least one shipment for Amazon, Costco, Target, and Walmart. He says Amazon hired significantly more carriers with no safety score or an unsafe driving score than the competition.
It's not fair that she has to live her life like this.
3-year-old Venari spent 2 months in the hospital after her grandmother says a tractor trailer carrying Amazon cargo hit the back of her mom's car.
She has a traumatic brain injury. She is paralyzed from up under her chest down.
The lawsuit filed on behalf of Venari alleges that a policy violation led Amazon to block Ugardi Trucking from picking up loads. But at the time of this crash, the owner of that company was driving a load for Gonzalez Freight in his Ugardi truck.
They'll close that company down, open up a brand new company, and now they've got a clean safety rating.
But Amazon says this was actually a case of illegal subcontracting. It is the U.S. DOT that is responsible for inspecting trucks and qualifying drivers. 11Alive News Investigates found there is often no data for companies like Amazon to review. Of the companies still licensed after the crashes that triggered lawsuits in Georgia, 64% have no rating or safety inspection score.
I think it's a situation where the U.S. DOT is just overwhelmed with the sheer number of motor carriers that there are.
Still, Odetunde and families impacted say there are things companies can do independently to better vet who is hauling their cargo.
I think they see it as the cost of doing business.
A cost with those injured paying the price. In Atlanta, Rebecca Lindstrom, 11Alive News Investigates.
11Alive reached out to at least 4 people impacted by a crash allegedly involving a truck carrying cargo for Amazon. All said they could not comment, citing non-disclosure agreements tied to settlements. Another concern we are following right now when it comes to consumers involves weight loss drugs. 11Alive News Investigates uncovered a spike in emergency room visits after patients said they took the drugs. Take a look.
Thank you for calling the Georgia Poison Center. My name is Lloyd. How can I help you?
What started as a diabetes treatment has exploded into a weight loss trend. But as more people turn to GLP-1 drugs to get their weight down, Georgia Poison Center is seeing their numbers go up.
It has caused our call volume to skyrocket.
GLP-1s, or glucagon-like peptide 1, are hormones that help regulate blood sugar, appetite, and more. There are synthetic versions of the drug which are FDA approved for treating diabetes, with some for weight loss. Gaylord Lopez is executive director of the center, which is seeing a spike in calls tied to GLP-1s. 129 calls in 2023, nearly doubled last year. This year, already surpassing that. Lopez says trouble often starts with the first dose.
When you're getting single-dose vials of 2 or 3 mLs, we've had a couple of patients inject the entire contents of a vial.
The increase not just in Georgia. Data 11Alive obtained from the National Poison Data Center, America's Poison Centers, shows nearly 12,000 calls linked to GLP-1s in the last year. Experts say mistakes include taking doses too closely together or taking a higher dose than prescribed. And prior shortages mean some patients turn to online sources or compounding pharmacies to find the medication. Unlike brand name pre-filled pens, Lopez warns some then end up with vials of medication and syringes, leading to errors.
So these are people who maybe didn't get the proper education, who didn't get the right information from the internet health provider, or they were just confused.
The result? Nausea, vomiting, or abdominal pain. Some patients experiencing a change in heart rate or blood sugar. More than 40% of calls end with patients sent to the ER.
The unfortunate thing is we're going to likely see more of these cases.
In fact, while at the call center, a call related to one popular kind of GLP-1 appeared on the call sheet. And Lopez doesn't expect the surge to stop anytime soon.
Look, this stuff has shown to cause significant weight loss, and I think it's only going to get worse before it gets better.
Liza Lucas, 11Alive News investigates. An important conversation will continue to follow. Now, after the break, we're taking a closer look at Georgia law enforcement's partnerships with ICE.
Is the 287G program taking in the worst of the worst?
I don't know what their past criminal history was. I just know at the time they detained them, usually it's a minor misdemeanor offense.
As immigration enforcement ramps up across the country, 11Alive News investigates, digs into the data to learn more about these arrests and what happens to people after they're detained. That's after the break. Welcome back. Immigration crackdowns were a central part of President Donald Trump's campaign promises, and now those promises have become policy. We're looking at how Georgia law enforcement agencies are playing a role through the 287G program.
Morning, officer. We don't want open borders.
On the campaign trail, President Donald Trump made it a cornerstone issue.
When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins.
Now in office, Trump administration officials like Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem say federal authorities are focused on dangerous criminals.
Our top priorities have been these two items: securing our borders and arresting dangerous criminals and removing them.
The Trump administration has stepped up immigration enforcement with help from Georgia law enforcement.
How long have you lived in Georgia for?
A state law passed last year requires local law enforcement agencies to apply to the federal 287G program, which allows them to flag detainees suspected of being undocumented immigrants to Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Can you step out of the car? Step out of the car for me?
Lumpkin County Sheriff Stacey Gerard's office is one of them.
Is the 287G program taking in the worst of the worst?
I don't know what their past criminal history was. I just know at the time they detained them, usually it's a minor misdemeanor offense.
According to records 11Alive News Investigates obtained, 31 Georgia agencies have active 287G agreements. Data we reviewed from more than a dozen Georgia law enforcement agencies offers a broader snapshot. In the first half of 2025, they collectively flagged more than 600 arrestees for ICE under the 287G program. Nearly half were for traffic violations, like driving without a license or speeding. 10% were for violent crimes, like assault, rape, or battery. Another roughly 15% of suspects were detained for DUIs. Republican State House Majority Leader Chuck F. Strachan helped pass the law calling for increased cooperation between Georgia law enforcement agencies and ICE.
So the issue there is, if an individual is in this country illegally, they've already committed a federal crime. The federal government already has the ability to deport them.
Data we reviewed shows ICE did not take every detainee into their custody. Some, like immigration attorney Emily Davis, argue the enforcement is overreach.
It's definitely not working. Where I'm seeing families being ripped apart, fear in the communities, complete chaos in our courts.
Others, like Sheriff Girard, say local agencies are just enforcing existing state law.
You can't drive without a license, but
I would recommend being here legally. I'd recommend having a Georgia license and operating under Georgia law, because that's what everyone else has to do.
The Georgia Department of Corrections also participates in the 287G program, but it is dealing with people who are already convicted instead of people who have just been arrested. Now, according to its data, hundreds of GDC detainees convicted of violent crimes have been flagged by immigration authorities. As for ICE itself, we repeatedly reached out to its Southeast Division, inviting the agency to an interview or to answer written questions. Ultimately, it never agreed to talk with us for this story.
That was Zach Merchant reporting. Now, still ahead, federal agents in the field reveal how seconds matter when it comes to stolen food benefits.
It's just overwhelming and hard, and these benefits are made to help us, and it's hurting us because it's all I have.
I've been covering SNAP issues like theft for years, and when we come back, I'm taking viewers behind the scenes with Secret Service to show you exactly how agents are working to stop thieves from draining funds from EBT cards. Thanks for joining 11Alive News Investigates. SNAP benefit theft continues to disrupt people's lives. Last month, the U.S. Secret Service conducted a special operation right here in Metro Atlanta, as well as in Columbus, to uncover and remove illegal skimmers from card readers at local businesses. I was there to witness firsthand how criminals target the most vulnerable families.
2 + 2.
For Shelby Watson,
Good job. High five.
Okay, it's your turn to make an idea.
math used to make sense.
I was getting $535 a month, every month on the 17th.
But lately, some numbers are not adding up.
This was not the first time it's been stolen.
Shelby's SNAP benefits stolen again by criminals targeting EBT cards.
I'm stuck. We're stuck. And it makes me feel like I'm not providing for my child, even though I know it has nothing to do with me at all.
Okay.
Stuck in a wheelchair makes getting to a food bank another challenge.
It's just overwhelming and hard, and these benefits are made to help us, and it's hurting us because it's all I have.
While describing the loss is hard. Her pain, part of a nationwide trend.
This is white-collar crime. This is organized crime.
We sat down with Mark Haskins with the USDA's Special Investigations Unit.
And we're being tasked to do something about it.
I'm gonna check this out.
On Thursday, the USDA partnered with the U.S. Secret Service in a special operation.
There you go.
Skimming devices only take seconds for criminals to install and can steal card data to be cloned and used later. Bots and AI, another threat, used to hack systems and crack passwords.
When you think about, as you were saying, a mom or a dad and some kids going without food for a month, I mean, that's a crime, and it takes its toll on people.
Agents hope operations like this show the public they're on the case. Shelby among those just wanting an answer she can depend on.
I didn't ask to be in this predicament. I didn't ask to be in this situation. I didn't ask for any of this.
Liza Lucas, 11Alive News Investigates. Now, agents ultimately ended up discovering a total of 41 card skimmers in that operation. The agency estimates removing those skimmers may have prevented $41.6 million in potential losses. Coming up, we are investigating the ongoing battle over short-term rentals here in Metro Atlanta and beyond.
The city, the state, the government have completely failed us as homeowners.
We're looking at how a lack in enforcement is causing Atlanta residents to sound the alarm. Welcome back. Now, while some people love short-term rentals and the opportunities that they present, others feel they're turning residences into hotels, with guests constantly coming and going. Senior investigative reporter Rebecca Lindstrom sat down with residents at a condo complex, board members, and investors to get their perspectives on this issue plaguing so many communities.
The windows are broken, the wallpaper ripping.
Man, it's hot. I'm really wishing I were not wearing this jacket.
The halls are hot as the Landmark condominium's aging AC system struggles to compete with Atlanta's heat and humidity.
I think there's a lot of maintenance that has been neglected for years.
But the guests, decked out in boots and bling for Beyonce's concert, didn't seem to mind.
The hotels were like $500 a night, so.
What was this?
I don't know, maybe like 500 total for 2 nights.
Well, what do you think of the building?
It's beautiful.
But that is not how many longtime residents see things.
This is a cautionary tale.
Homeowner Nikki Buggs is named in a defamation lawsuit brought by the condo's board. Yet you've still chosen to sit down and talk with us. Why?
It's the truth.
There are about 200 units at the Landmark. The building has always had short-term rentals, even before platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo made it popular. But Buggs says what used to be 20 rentals has now flipped to just 20 residents.
The city, the state, the government have completely failed us as homeowners.
It is an imbalance residents tried to fight in court. Their focus now, the city council. Any chance that the concerns that these residents are bringing up is just overblown?
I believe that they are extremely sincere.
In July, Atlanta City Council member Michael Julian Bond tried to pass an ordinance to cap the number of short-term rentals in buildings like the Landmark at 10% if the community voted to even have them at all. Instead, though, the committee delayed taking action, as it has the past 3 years.
What I will not do is pass something performative that cannot be enforced.
The Landmark board, all but one with an interest in short-term rentals, says without them, the building will fall apart. Rachel Liu, who owns or manages about 50 units, says the controversy and condition of the building have slowed sales.
I don't think anyone, they are still wanting to buy units here. So this building will be in big trouble.
Buggs says in the past 2 years, her monthly HOA dues have gone up $300 on top of nearly $5,000 in special assessments. In protest, she admits she hasn't paid any of it to the HOA, which means now she faces foreclosure.
It is extremely frustrating, and we feel like we have a board now that is trying to do the right thing.
Board member Jamie Waters says the city has it all wrong. Do you feel like the city needs to do something when it comes to short-term rentals?
I don't, and I really don't.
Waters says as a real estate agent, he sees similar problems in other buildings that don't have short-term rentals.
The situations that we're having here are indicative of an old condominium building in downtown Atlanta. They're not indicative of short-term rentals.
In Atlanta, Rebecca Lindstrom, 11Alive News investigates.
As you can see, 11Alive News Investigates is deeply committed to stories focusing on real issues impacting you and your community. If you have a safety concern or think there's a story we should look into, you can always reach out to 11Alive News Investigates by calling 404-873-9111 or email us at investigates@11alive.com. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next time.